This is the Kitsune clan, a group of sword enthusiasts who like cosplay, reenactment, and historical martial arts. If you have similar interests, feel welcomed. We already talked a bit about polearms for cosplay and how they can be used for martial arts training. But sometimes you need something more hefty. Unfortunately, the market for polypropylene polearms is rather absent, or at least almost. We show here some examples that are available. Rather recently, Tekabudo produced something that was labeled under Roku Shakubo or Bo, so 1 meter 80 long polypropylene training tool. There's a tapering version and a non-tapering one. We have here the tapering one. This has one advantage. It can take the cold steel training spare tips, and you can even add more pieces to it to get to special types of spears or kind of halberds. We used the crossguard of a cold steel dagger to have a kind of a Jumonji Yari or Kama Yari. For a European view, it would probably be a partisan. We also used a Franziska type axe head to produce our light halberd we are using here. And you see, everything holds well together and you can beat pretty much the hell out of it. You can see the weapons bend, and you might be reminded of the cosplay weapons we've used before, but don't mistake that. These things are much heavier than the cosplay weapons. And yes, they bend because all these polypropylene things have to bend to a certain degree. But they are much harder, and if you hit with them, as you just saw, this will hurt and it will leave a mark. So these weapons are great to get closer to the weight of an original one, but you have to be a bit more careful when it comes to hitting than it was with the cosplay weapons. With the cosplay weapons, you are basically not possible to hurt anyone, really. Yeah, if you hit the eye maybe. With these ones, you can see you will strike wounds to your opponent. Even if they are small, they can be really, really hurtful. Should be no surprise though, if you think of polypropylene swords, we have the same effect. And if we think it through, polypropylene is just a substitute for wooden weapons. There we see the same effect. So just be a bit more careful with these. To be clear again, be careful for the sake of your opponent, which is usually a training partner. The weapons are really, really sturdy, and I don't think you can easily crash them. With the wooden weapons it was still possible. These ones will not break. Even if you attach a bit heavier weight to them, like I did here to get to a Mord axe, so a heavy battle axe thingy. The head is really, really heavy weighted, and still that functions perfectly with this type of shaft. This bow from Tekabudo is not only a real bargain for 50 bucks at the moment on Amazon and eBay, it also comes without additional shipping costs. That's much cheaper than anything I saw with red oak bows or also rattan bows. And especially if you like rattan bows, the bend of these polypropylene things is pretty similar to my rattan bows. You can get the cold steel training spearhead for less than 15 bucks, so a functional polypropylene polearm for less than 65. I don't think there's any alternative for that price. Luckily, Tekabudo offers also different lengths, so here's a jo, so only 4 feet long, and you can use it well for jojutsu. In comparison to the red oak ones, I'm not afraid of getting a splinter into my fingers here after some beating and sliding along the weapon, so very positive in my view. Concerning the weight, it is very, very similar to the wooden versions that I have. But again, I am not afraid of breaking it. If you have ever broken a redwood jo, you know how that looks like. After breaking, these are really dangerous weapons with sharp edges and mean tips. So for training safety, I really suggest that you consider buying a polypropylene version. Like for the Rokushaku bow, we can add some rubber parts to change the jaw to another type of weapon in a similar way that I would usually add metal parts to a wooden base weapon. So what I did, I created a rubber training kanabo. I simply took a lot of rubber rings from a car second-hand trader and stacked them onto the jaw. It may not look like much, but the weight shift that this alteration brings is incredible, and you really have the proper feeling of a kanabo. Last to mention for today is a system that reminds us on some of the cosplay weapons. A naginata that comes in three pieces, no, four, three for the shaft, one for the tip that you screw together. And that's also made from polypropylene besides the tip, which is rubber. As you see here, this thing looks short because one of the three shaft pieces broke off already. So when used in full length, it's not as durable as the complete shafts from the Rokushaku bow, but it's still a usable tool and we continue to use it with this length of a bit of more than 1 meter. Also, it has a rubber tip, which is of advantage in general, as you just could see here. If you get hit, the rubber tip saves you from the really bad injuries. We hope this video contains some useful information for you. Hope to see you next time around. Bye bye.